Touchdown, Alabama, let's get it.
The process, no one can stop this. Hottest show in the streets, I bet you can't top this. Rammer, jammer, yellow hammer, come see how we rock this. Alabama fans the best, there's no way you can top this. Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
The process.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back into a new episode of The Process, Crimson Tide Recruiting. I am your host, Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama magazine. I am here every Tuesday and Thursday evening on Touchdown Alabama's YouTube page on The Process to break down the latest in Crimson Tide football recruiting news. Be sure to hit that subscribe button on Touchdown Alabama's YouTube page if you're not subscribed. Also, be sure to leave a like whether you are subscribed or not. Today, I want to talk about the Tide's top remaining targets in the 2021 recruiting class, with National Signing Day officially being less than a week away on today. So I want to discuss those guys. I've talked about them a lot over the last couple of weeks, but I want to discuss the latest in their recruitment. Of course, National Signing Day is on February 3rd, next Wednesday. That is when the traditional signing period will begin. So I will discuss those guys later in the program. But before I dive deeper into that, I do have a couple of recruiting updates. As always, keep you guys updated on some of the other Crimson Tide recruiting news. So with that being said, let's get the process started. I have a couple of quick recruiting updates that you guys with. First, the Crimson Tide are continuing to extend new offers to multiple prospects in the 2022 and 2023 recruiting classes. 2022 four-star cornerback Terrence Brooks out of Texas recently reported that he had received an offer from the Crimson Tide, along with a impressive offensive lineman in the 2023 recruiting class out of Florida, and TJ Shanahan. I had an opportunity to catch up with Shanahan, and he talked about how the Crimson Tide's coaching staff likes the nastiness he brings from the offensive line position. Be sure to check out that article over at touchdowналabama.com. The Crimson Tide are continuing to add new coaches to replace some of the coaches that they lost after their national championship winning season. They are expected to make it official in a couple of days that Jay Graham will join the Crimson Tide's coaching staff as the tight end coach and special teams coordinator. He will replace Jeff Banks, who moved on to the University of Texas after last season. Looking at Graham, I think he will have his hands full just looking at the Tide's tight end room, returning Jaleel Billingsley and having a couple of younger tight ends on the Crimson Tide's roster. It'll be interesting to see how he handles that situation. He is in great position just looking at the kicker position, with Will Reichert coming back after a perfect season for the Crimson Tide on last season. So that is something that Jay Graham should be looking forward to. One thing that I am looking forward to when it comes to him hitting the recruiting trail is how he recruits the kicker and tight end position, because I think Alabama will want to add a kicker in the next recruiting class, possibly a scholarship kicker, now that Will Reichert is heading into his junior season. I also think they want to continue to make a push for receiving tight end, so Jay Graham will be tasked with both of those important parts of the Crimson Tide's future. So that is something that I'm interested in seeing when it comes to Jay Graham on the recruiting trail. But that is what I want to talk about today, with a couple of quick recruiting updates. Now I am going to roll into discussions of the Tide's top remaining targets. At this point, there's no denying that the Tide's top remaining targets are five-star defensive end JT Tuimoloau and 2021 defensive back Terrion Arnold out of Tallahassee, Florida. It looks as if one of these two prospects will sign and commit to the school of their choice during the traditional signing period on National Signing Day, and that will be Arnold, as JT is reportedly set to announce his commitment to sign with the school of his choice past National Signing Day, possibly during the spring, because he wants to take some more visits, and that is something that is acceptable at this point in the current recruiting landscape, because the recruiting dead period has been in place for almost a year now, and recruits have not had an opportunity to visit the schools of their choice. So JT possibly wants to wait till the NCAA lifts that current recruiting dead period. It is uncertain if they will do that. It may be a situation where JT may have to just visit the campus on his own with his family. Of course, he will not have an opportunity to talk with any coaches while he is on the campuses of their respective schools, but he will get an opportunity to see and get a feel of the town, get a feel of the campus. He can talk to current players at those respective schools, so that is something that JT might do when it comes to him taking some visits. And I think this also just shows how tight the race is for him. He is uncertain and unclear of what school he wants to choose, and I think we can just see that by him pushing his commitment and signing to the school of his choice to possibly the spring. And I think that is something that we can give some respect to. He wants to make the right decision. So I think the Crimson Tide's coaching staff will continue their recruiting efforts for the 5-star defensive end, continue to recruit him past National Signing Day possibly, and keep their names in the hat for one of the top players in the 2022 recruiting class. But turning our attention to Arnold, who currently has a top 3 of Alabama, Florida, and Georgia. At this point, I think it is looking like a Georgia-Alabama recruiting battle. I recently talked to a source that was relatively close to Arnold's recruitment, and they said that they could see him at the University of Georgia, choosing Georgia because of the relationship that he has with the Georgia Bulldogs head coach, Kirby Smart, citing that one of his closest friends, and Xavier Sorey, is signed to the University of Georgia, and he's currently enrolled in Athens. And it was once believed that Sorey and Arnold would play together at the next level. They wanted to play together at the next level because of the relationship that they have been able to build over the last couple of years, taking visits together and things like that. That is something that both of those guys have expressed that they wanted to do in the past. And Sorey has been recruiting Arnold as well, especially with him on the campus of the University of Georgia. So that is just something that we have to keep our eyes on. I think this is a tough battle as well, a tight battle. I still feel the Crimson Tide are in a great position just based on what I talked about a couple of episodes back on the process, how involved the Crimson Tide's basketball coaching staff is in Arnold's recruitment, the success that Alabama is having on the hardwood. I think that is going to play a role in Arnold's decision as well, because he wants to play basketball at the next level and play football as well. That is something that he wants to do. He is ready for that challenge. He wants to embrace that challenge, and in my opinion, I think he is ready for it. This is a kid who works from sun up to sundown. It seems I had an opportunity to spend some time with him during the summer, and he just rolled off his entire schedule for a day of workout, and it consisted of so many different things, and it looked as if he was working from sun up to sundown. So this is a kid who has definitely gained my respect from his work ethic. But looking at Terrion Arnold's recruitment, I am leaning toward Georgia and Alabama separating themselves from Florida, heading down the stretch, heading into his official decision on National Signing Day on February 3rd. I think another thing the Crimson Tide has working in their favor is the fact that Nick Saban is so heavily involved in Arnold's recruitment. And this is something that has not just happened over the last couple of months, over the last couple of weeks. I know when I had an opportunity to see Arnold in action earlier in his senior season, he told me that Nick Saban actually texted him before that game, told him to go out and dominate. And when I talked to him during the summer, when I got a chance to travel to Tallahassee, he told me how involved Nick Saban was in this recruitment, just pointing out how successful defensive backs have been in Tuscaloosa, constantly bringing up a former Alabama defensive back and a Tallahassee native in Ronnie Harrison. Arnold is a kid that holds the city of Tallahassee close to his heart, so I'm pretty sure the Crimson Tide are playing on that angle as well. So Arnold's recruitment is pretty interesting heading into National Signing Day. I feel at this moment it is either going to be the Bulldogs or the Tide for one of the top defensive backs in the 2022 recruiting class. But another thing Tide fans need to pay attention to heading into the traditional signing period is Kamar Wheaton, the 5-star running back who is currently committed to the Crimson Tide, verbally committed at the moment, who is set to sign his national letter of intent on February 3rd on National Signing Day. Of course, he chose the Tide over schools like Oklahoma. And looking at Wheaton's recruitment with his main recruiters when it comes to the University of Alabama departing for other schools. I think it is interesting to see what his decision will be. His final decision will be on National Signing Day, because you have to think about Jeff Banks going to the University of Texas and also Charles Huff moving on to be the head coach at the University of Marshall. Recruiting is all about relationships, and those relationships are no longer there. A lot of people like to say commit to the school and do not commit to coaches, because this is something that could happen. But looking at Wheaton's recruitment, all signs point to him signing his national letter of intent with Alabama on Wednesday. But it's just something to pay attention to with the current situation with the Crimson Tide adding a couple of new coaches to their coaching staff. But that is exactly what I wanted to talk about today. Discuss Arnold's recruitment, discuss the latest in Arnold's recruitment, the latest in JT Tuimolau's recruitment, along with just paying attention to what Kamar Wheaton will do on National Signing Day on next Wednesday. That will put a bow on this episode of The Process. Be sure to hit that subscribe button before you leave. Also, be sure to leave a like whether you are subscribed or not. Then head over to touchdownalabama.com. Pick up a subscription today. With that subscription, you will be able to read all of our subscriber-only articles, get your hands on our yearly print magazine issue. Also, get an opportunity to read our in-depth scouting reports and in-depth draft projections for the Crimson Tide players who are currently eligible to declare for the NFL draft. Also, head to the Google Play Store if you have an Android device, or to the Apple App Store if you have an Apple device, to download the Touchdown Alabama app. With that app, breaking news notifications can be sent to your mobile device. As always, I am Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama magazine.
Process.